there were some things I was exposed to that no kid should be exposed to, like eating out of dumpsters. It may sound strange, but there was some good that came out of going through those circumstances that I apply to my everyday life now
Yeah.
as a successful man.
I didn't have the love of a mother,
Mhm.
all thanks to my mother. And because of, and when she told me the story that she had to go through with my father, I understood. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you could have done me a good by terminating the abortion because I went through so much.
So today we're talking about what divorce leaves behind. This topic is what divorce leaves behind. Today's topic is very interesting. It's a very personal, topic and all, and I can relate. And those of us who are, those of you who are from probably like a broken home or home where your parents were separated or something, I'm sure you can really relate as children, what you went through, during the phase, during the separation with your parents or the divorce and everything. So we're going to be touching today. I have a guest and he'll be doing more of the talking. And I can tell you, I'm just waiting for him to, let me see. I'm waiting for him to join me. Looking for the link. Oh, he's looking for the link. My guest said, come to my page, come to my page. He said he's looking for the link. Okay. I think what he needs to do is to come to my page. So for those of us who are from, homes where our parents were probably like separated or something, we can actually relate to this topic. Growing up, I understand what I went through. I was Facebook or Instagram. Oh, Instagram. Sorry, I'm a little Instagram. Oh, he's wondering where I am, my guest. So I can understand what we went through as kids from a home where, sometimes from Africa and, separated and everything. And being the eldest, I had to be a mom to my siblings. I had to look out for them. I had to protect them. So I probably would say I got matured than my age. I had to act more matured, not having my mom around and everything for my siblings. I'm already seeing people trying to request me, Yetima. Oh my God. Baby girl, I would so love you to be on this session with me. I just want you to wait a little bit. Let me accept my guests first before I start accepting. Okay, let me see. Let me accept my guests first before I start accepting others. After accepting my guest, I'm going to accept every other person that is wanting to join me. So please just wait. Okay, God bless you. So yeah, so being from a home like that, I had to grow up faster than my age. I had to be responsible for more things. I had to understand I was, the first child and a girl. I had to be a mom to my siblings. So I know the emotional trauma I went through as a child. It's Jane, that's my younger sister. God bless you. It's Jane Kelvin. God bless you. I trauma I went through as a child. And today is not about blame games. Sometimes we have to also forgive our parents. Hi, Mr. Fernando Lennon. God bless you.
Hello, God bless you too.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited, so excited doing this topic with you. I'm so excited. I'm going to be introducing you very soon. Okay. So today is it's not about a blame game. We're not trying to blame our parents for the decisions they made. Sometimes those decisions were inevitable. Sometimes, um, I tell people that sometimes when people separate or get divorced, there's a third party we're not actually looking at or paying attention to, and those third party could be, the Bible says that a man planted good seeds, slept, and by the time he woke up, the enemy had sow ties. So what are those ties and everything? So today is not, it's not about blaming anybody, but I know that having my parents separated. They later came back together, but for the while they were separated, I can tell you were greatly impacted. And another woman coming into the picture, I had a stepmom along the way. So you can understand. And here laws are regulated. Um, you don't touch, you don't hit a child or something. You're scared, you get into trouble with the law. But I'm from Africa, and you can understand when you're talking about a Nigerian parent, a typical Nigerian parent, there is no law protecting the child. They are gonna beat the hell out of you. And now, I'm not against our parents beating us, but when you're when you grow up with a stepmother, now it's a different thing. So the beating is not coming from the place of correction or love. It's coming from the place of hate. I don't like you, you're not my child, you know. So you get hit for every little thing you do, and even the things you didn't do, you get lied on. And as a child, you have to defend yourself and tell your dad the truth. And funny thing is, Mr. Fernando will share similar. My dad was in the military. My dad was an officer, so you can imagine the discipline from an officer when you get back from work and your stepmother says you did something. Oh, she went out and came. I'm like, ma'am, I've been here. Or she didn't do the dishes, and Jesus Christ, you have to start telling all the truth or all the lies to defend yourself, or you get some really, really bad whoopings. And I can tell you, I still have scars from those whooping on my hands and all. So yeah, there is a lot of impact of this, on the children. They don't get to say a lot, but I'm telling you, they get to go through a lot. So that's why today's topic, what divorce leaves behind, is very important. And we're not just talking about just divorce. Sometimes separation too. You understand? We're going to be touching that. So with me today is my very special guest, a very special guest, Mr. Fernando Lennon. Now, I would let him do a little introduction about himself, but the little I know about him, he is an author of a very beautiful book. Like, he's an author of the book Perseverance Over Pain, a survival story. I read a little bit. Now, I ordered this book. It's scheduled to arrive tomorrow. But I ordered it from Amazon. Please, I want to tell you, if you're joining me today, Perseverance Over Pain. I'm also going to post the book after this podcast. You need to buy this book. I ordered it. I wanted to have a glimpse. I mean, details about the book before he joined me, but because it's scheduled to arrive tomorrow, I had to read a little bit about the book on Amazon. The Amazon free sample holder thing, and I was glued to this book for hours. Now, I usually just if how do I say it? I judge a book by the cover. How do I say it? When I'm reading the first paragraph, the first page, if it's not interested, I just get bored. Because I have a lot of books to read. But I can tell you that I spent hours reading this book, Perseverance Over Pains. The beautiful thing about his book is it is a personal story. It's not fictional. Now, a lot of writers just write books about things that happen to people, or fictional things, just tell you stories. These are not made up stories. This book, Perseverance Over Pain, a survivor story, is its own personal story that you'll be reading. Oh, what a privilege. Thank you so much, Mr. Fernando. I tell you, I'm blessed reading your book, and I can't even wait to have the hard copy, coming. Like I said earlier, today's discussion is not about blames. It's not about saying you should have stayed in an abusive relationship or marriage. That's not what we're saying. We're not trying to glorify the pains and say, oh, why did you walk out or something? We're trying to tell you, look, there's something about divorce and about separation. Yes, you made the right decisions, but there are still consequences to those decisions. It doesn't matter if you left for a good cause or for a bad cause. That's why we say we're not blaming anybody. However, there are still consequences for living. I'm telling you. Now, there are still pain sides to everything. The the beautiful thing about life is life gives you an opportunity to turn those consequences to something beautiful, you know, at the end of it all. And that's why he'll be telling us the story today. There are consequences, but what did you do? What changes did you make? All right, did you live with the blames? and everything. Mr. Fernando, thank you. Please introduce yourself before I continue so our audience can get to know you.
Okay, no worries. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Fernando Lennon. I'm from the South Florida area, and I am an author, an educator, a father, a husband. I'm like the Swiss Army knife of my family. I do it all, and I'm just very happy and elated to be here so I can share my story with you all.
Thank you so much. Well, before I get into asking Mr. Fernando, some questions, I kind of really like before I do, I just try to educate people, but because of time, I would just kind of brush through what I wrote down today. We'll be talking about when we talk about what divorce leaves behind. I would like us to talk about the emotional residue it leaves behind. That is the emotional aftermath, because, about it, the physical stress, the financial trauma and survivor scar, the family fragmentations, the children's silent grief, the trust and the wounds, the spiritual disorientation, and the path towards restoration. I would just go through a little bit of it today, and I'll start asking, Mr. Fernando some questions. He will be the one teaching us today. He will be the one educating us today. So just stay glued. I can tell you, you're going to enjoy this series. You're going to enjoy it. So let's talk about the emotional aftermath of divorce, what it leaves. I tell people, I said divorce doesn't just end in the paperwork. Okay. Um, it doesn't just end in the legal process, the court proceedings, the paperwork. Oh, it's not about who moved out or who moved in. It's about the emotional and the psychological residue it leaves on us. And not just on us, oh, on the children as well. I think it's from you. I think I kind of hear myself when I'm talking. Okay. It earns a sense of emotional safety. Safety is something that we don't often notice until it's gone. Um, this when I read about today's topic, I did more of research on it, and I remember a woman telling me something, and she said after her divorce that her first daughter, who is about 10, um, kind of she felt everything was good. Initially, the child was good, but when the father moved out, the child was unusually quiet. And I'm like, what is the relationship? But I can tell you, how does it relate? I can tell you that when I did my research on today, I could relate to what she was saying. That is one of the aftermath we have, on the children. Mr. Fernando, please let me get to you, right? I know when we spoke, you told me about your book. Please tell me again what inspired you. I read the book and it's kind of a personal story. Can you tell me the inspiration behind it?
So
Can you tell us the inspiration behind it?
the inspiration behind my book is all the trauma that I went through as a child. Being able to overcome that trauma and being a current educator now, seeing that I'm not the only one that went through trauma, that I'm not the only one that will go through trauma, and I'm not the only one that is dealing with or coping with that trauma. So um, I decided to write my book for two reasons: to motivate those that are currently going through something, to show them that, hey, listen, just because you went through a traumatic experience or experiences, that doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do after that trauma. How do you cope with the trauma? How do you take your story and use it to motivate those that are struggling or that have struggled? And then the second reason why I decided to write the story is because my father passed away in 2024,
Oh
and
my God.
we were together when I was going through the bulk of the trauma.
Okay. I'm so sorry about the loss.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so sorry. And your mom, where's your mom?
So my mother's here in South Florida.
Okay.
We're in a good spot, to say the least. We're in a good spot. I won't share too much about
Okay.
that
Okay.
because I want to make sure I leave that as a surprise in my book.
Yeah, we have to go to the book to read all of that. Okay. Well, I'm just going to jump to asking some questions. I know you, when I read a little bit of your book, you
Mm.
said your mother grew among boys and she was stubborn, right? I mean,
Yeah,
she had a strong personality, not stubborn. You said she
right.
had a strong personality. And men, I'm from Africa, so I know our men. I'm sorry to just say, I'm not trying to throw us under the bus, but a lot of people would identify our men as like, oh, we're hard headed. Our men, we're stubborn. So
Yeah,
your dad was obviously a black man. So I'm just going to say, probably stubborn,
yeah.
like you said in your book.
Definitely stubborn.
So definitely stubborn, right? So what kind of my question now would be, with these two personalities, right? A woman who is stubborn and a woman who has a strong personality, not really stubborn, but a strong personality, and a man who is stubborn. Would you say they are, how do I put it? Um, I'm looking for the right word.
A troublesome combination.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Are
Def-
they a good fit
I would
in a relationship or marriage?
I would say no from my point of view. Being the child that grew up in in the household with them, um, because it was always infighting. One person wants their way, the other person wants their way, and no one's able to bend, break, or fold. That was the biggest issue. So that brought in a lot of infighting,
Mm,
and to the point
mm.
where it got physical a lot.
So you would say a woman with a strong personality, right? And a man who has a strong personality too or stubborn are not compatible
Well,
in
I
marriage.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're not compatible because every situation is different. Now,
Mm.
there are some circumstances or many circumstances that I can think of off the top of my head where you have two stubborn people and they're making it work. They're making it work. There's a few couples that I can think of right now that are together, but they're making it work. They're stubborn. They go through what they go through, but at the end of the day, they know that they love each other unconditionally.
What would make it work more? Is it the woman? Okay, does the woman drop her personality? You have a strong personality as a woman, and to make the marriage work, you're with a man who has a strong personality as well or stubborn. Should the woman, drop the personality or something to make it? Because the truth is, two very strong personality cannot coexist.
All right, so I would say this. I don't like the generalizations, and I'm gonna tell you why. I
Mm.
think it's based off of personal experiences and upbringing. My personal experience and upbringing.
The live video just ended. The devil is a liar. We are having a very great conversation, and it just ended. Okay, I don't know. I think it's an Instagram glitch. I don't know. It just went off like that. Mhm.
But you know what that was, right?
Yeah.
That was nothing but the enemy.
Yeah, the devil is a liar. I kept saying, I said, the devil is a liar. We are having this session. We are so having it.
But you notice how I mentioned the word of God, and then that happens, right?
It just went off. I didn't even think about it that way, but now I am.
Hmm.
He already lost over your life in the mighty name of Jesus. He did
Right,
lost. Thank you. All
right.
right. Yeah.
So I was exposed to the word of God by because randomly when we were on the street, my grandmother, my grandmother and my step grandfather, they kept a Sunday outfit for me in one of the extra closets that they had in their home. So every now and then I would go to church with them on a Sunday. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My first time going to the family church. I was sitting there and I was listening to the pastor and to be 100% transparent at that age, so young, I would doze off, then snap out of it, and then start paying attention. And I would try to focus on the words that were being used, but for the most part, it was like the pastor was speaking at me and not to me because I didn't understand certain terminology that was being used. When they went into the scripture, into the Bible, I didn't understand what they were reading. I had reading
Wow.
I had reading deficiencies. I was behind academically, you know? So a lot of things didn't resonate with me, but I do remember that the pastor saying that God would never leave you nor forsake you.
Yeah.
He would never put more on your shoulder than that you can bear. And I remembered that. I didn't understand what it meant, but I just remembered that, you know? Um, and that was my initial exposure to the word. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea why it was going on. I knew it was routine that families go to church every Sunday, or it was routine that families go to Bible study, or it was routine that people go to choir rehearsal. It was routine, you know. But those same people would turn around, and I would see their everyday life, and it would contradict the life that they portray in the church. So I had no interest in getting to know who God was because number one, I sort of blame God because of my circumstances as a child. No one ever sat me down to try to teach me about the word, so I was left to assume. I was left to assume.
Wow. I'm so happy you found Christ, and I'm so happy on the foundation you made for yourself and for your children. No one taught you, but you made one for yourself. And seriously, this is so touching because I'm gonna also say this as parents, the greatest gift you can give to your children is the gift of God as well. Let them know God for themselves. Please, I beg you. I have a sleepover with some friends, some kids, African Americans and all. Their mom had traveled and, they had a sleepover at my home. And, as usual, what I do at night is pray with the kids and everything. So I had them all come to pray and all. And I was like, okay, it's your turn, pray. And this child didn't even know how to pray. Like, what is that? How do they pray? I was deeply touched. I'm like, you never prayed in your home? She said, no, we never did. And you just confirmed me like, I was like, there's no way. So do you know about Jesus? I started like, I taught her how to pray. They were so excited that night. I'm like, you need to tell your mom when you get back. You need to tell her how to do this every night before you go to bed. Okay? You need to say what? And I'm like, so what are we giving these kids? You go to the store, you get them the designer clothes, you get them toys. Is that it? What foundations? Even the Bible says, train a child, how they should grow. And when they do, they would not depart from it. So what are you giving? Sometimes we're giving our children the wrong things, the wrong gifts. And we're not even focusing on the right things. And guess what? That night she woke up, came to my room at 3 a.m. I'm like, what is going on? She opened my door and she was crying. And I'm like, what is the problem? Now this child is just 7 years old. Now, why are you crying? What is it? She said, I'm afraid. Afraid of what? I cannot sleep. I said, why? She said, when she tried to sleep, right, a woman came, held her by the neck and was trying to strangle her and asking her why she prayed. I'm serious, a 7 year old. And I'm like, are you serious? I said, what is her name? She said, she mentioned some kind of very scary name and all. That the woman said her name is Mona or whatever. She had this and that. And the woman threw her to the walls. Now I'm telling you guys, these children go through a lot they cannot express. And I told her, I said, you know what? No one is going to kill you for praying. I prayed over her and I told her to lay on my bed and sleep. And she slept that morning and woke up. And I told the mom, Your children are fighting a lot of demons, and you don't know. As mom, your kids are fighting a lot of demons you do not know because you don't even have time to do the right thing with them, which is the prayers and everything. You're all acting, I'm an activist, I'm supporting this. I don't, it's okay to support whatever you're supporting. But I'm telling you, when you see the kids not turn too well, not just now sometimes they don't turn too well in during divorces and all. Sometimes we have both parents at home and these children take to addiction. I'm in a position where by the grace of God, I'm having to pray for a lot of kids. Like their parents will literally call me. Now they have both parents. It's not even the absence of one parent or both. But these kids are not listening. These kids are giving the parent a hard time. These kids are doing drugs and every other thing. You ask yourself, what went wrong? That's the question you ask yourself. How did you train them? Was there an absence of God? Because when there's an absence of Jesus, of course, there'll be a presence of other foreign spirits and everything. And that is what happened to that child. For the first time she prayed, she's been dealing with demons you don't know. And you see a 7-year-old, if she wants to dance, you think is an adult dancing. I'm serious. There are so many demons out there. Some of them are living rent free in their lives. So please, please, I'm saying this because you said something very important. He never learned how to pray or even read the Bible. He didn't know nothing about all that.
Now I will say this. As far as my father was concerned, I'm not saying that he did not know, but I was never taught at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From what I was told about their upbringing, they went as when they grew up, when my father and his siblings grew up, they went to church.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as my sister and I, we weren't too much exposed to that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And yes, I'm going to ask, not really personal, but I'm going to just say, how did this your parents' separation affect you personally as a child?
Well, it affected me a lot. But to be honest, when my father and I were on the street, I didn't really think too much about their separation as a whole because I was so focused on surviving. As a 9-year old, there were some things I was exposed to that no kid should be exposed to, like eating out of dumpsters, washing up in McDonald's, taking bird baths in McDonald's, walking miles to and from school, just to turn around and walk miles back to wherever we're laying our head. It's a lot. It does something to you. And I think the biggest issue was the fact that it was a nonstop. It was nonstop trauma every day. It was no relief. Well, the only sense of relief I had was those moments where I did go to my grandmother's house from time to time, but it wouldn't be an overnight thing. It would be a couple of hour thing, and then now it's back to my life as I knew it. Um, so seeing other kids with their parents, seeing other kids with their mothers, um, every now and then it would get to me. It would make me feel some type of way emotionally, but for the most part, I had to keep a brave face because there was so much going on around me.
Hmm. Wow. Now, you had your dad had just you, and your
No,
mom had your
yeah,
sister,
yes, yes.
and you had to eat from dumped whatever
And
was at 9.
mhm.
So he was unable to cater for himself and for you.
well,
The
when well, he had a something we call under the table job. So he had under the table jobs where he like washed cars and things of that nature. So when he was able to wash cars and get money, then we would able to eat. he would be able to pay for a night or two at a motel, but for the most part, primarily we were on the street and we had to fend for ourselves. Now, I will say this: when I went to school every day, I went to school every day that was open, but my motivation was to get the free breakfast and free lunch.
Wow.
That was my saving grace when I was going through everything I went through on the street because whew, um, during the holidays, we had to figure it out. For the most part, we would go to my grandmother's house, but then those holidays, those teacher work days and things of that nature, I had to figure it out. So my dad would show me how to go into gas stations and different places to steal food or steal what we needed. Um, he essentially showed me how to survive.
Wow.
And based on his military background, he showed me how to make it through certain situations and to do certain things so I wouldn't have to be in harm's way. So um, it may sound strange, but there was some good that came out of going through those circumstances that I apply to my everyday life now
Yeah.
as a successful man. You know, that perseverance that I learned, that ability to survive, that that um that mindset that I had back then, I incorporate that into my life now, and that's why through the grace of God, nothing can stop.
Amen.
Nothing can stop me.
I can't, I don't want to say I can relate to what you went through. Jesus Christ, no one should ever have to go through what you went through, like teaching you what you have to do to survive and everything. And you said you were separated from your sister. Did your sister also, your sister was with your mom
Yes,
while you were with your dad? Did your
yes.
sister also go through that upbringing, such childhood
He
with your
didn't
mom?
go through those similar circumstances that I went through. You know, they had their things that they went through, but it wasn't to that magnitude. Yeah.
Wow. Did you at any point look for your mom or say like that, I need to get back to my mom and
No,
everything?
not at all. Because
Wow.
after a couple of years, I started in the back of my mind. I started thinking to myself, "Wow, she doesn't care." But it wasn't only her. I put everybody in the same bucket. I put family members. I put my teachers. I put any adults that I could think of in the same bucket in my mind. And I said to myself, "Wow, no one cares about me. Cool. This is my life. I had to accept it." You see, growing up in Miami on the street, you have to either turn your emotions off in order to survive, or you'll be swallowed by the environment. I had to turn my emotions off. I couldn't think about my mom and my sister. I couldn't think about the past and how I used to be when I grew up in the military family. I had to think about the then and now. How am I going to survive today? I couldn't think about tomorrow. How am I going to survive tonight? What am I going to eat tonight?
Wow.
How am I going to make sure that I'm safe tonight? If my dad is not around, what do I do? Those were the thoughts that ran through my mind. Even in school, I couldn't concentrate on academics because my mind was focused on surviving. Kids were in class talking about, wow, I can't wait till the weekend. I can't wait to go outside and play football. I can't wait to talk to my girlfriend. That was never none of that stuff that was that just mentioned was in my vocabulary because I was focused on surviving.
Okay, I'm so sorry you went through that. I do want to ask because there are some kind of parents who did similar thing, like during separation or divorce, the mom gets to go with the girls. It's happened a lot, and and the dad stays with the boys. Something like that. Or the mom says, okay, you know what, I'm going to keep those kids, and you're going to keep, in Africa and also here. Um, I want to ask, right? First, do you have what's your relationship with your sister? Do you guys have that bond
Uh,
that
now we do. I talk to my sister every week, a couple of times each week. We definitely talk.
okay?
Definitely
But at
do.
some point, were there just distance, or you
Well,
always had a connection?
when we all came back together as when I got older, when I got into high school and when I was off of the streets, um, we definitely came back together. We talked. We never really addressed the things that happened in the past. Um, because that was a sore spot for her. She didn't really want to get into depth about it. My mother didn't want to talk about it. My dad didn't want to talk about it. Everybody kind of glossed over it because we were fine now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
back when we were going through it, it was something else to say the least.
Wow. And so, what advice would you give parents, right? If divorce is, inevitable, and or the separation is inevitable, would you advise all children to be with one parent or separated? What would you advise?
I,
And if they
I
have to be with one parent, would you say they should be with the mom? Who do you think can better handle the children, the mom or the dad?
it all depends on the circumstances and who the mother and fathers are. Um, I also don't believe in splitting kids up. I definitely don't because that's traumatic. That's trauma within
Yeah.
itself. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say this: when you're a child and your parents split up, it can be deemed as traumatic because you can't. No one can tell that child how to receive what's going on and how to interpret what's going on unless. And even if the parents sit the child down and tell the child, "Listen, this is what's going to happen, and this is why," it still can be deemed as a traumatic experience because no one can tell you how you're going to receive what's taking place.
Hmm. Sometimes what I want us to know is the children cannot really express what is going on during a divorce.
Right.
They internalize a lot of things. When your dad and your mom are separated, the children internalize a lot of things. You understand? Especially when they're with the mom or with the dad, they don't want to go asking questions. Sometimes they feel you're going to react, get angry. They don't want you to be. See, I'm telling you, the children deal with a lot as well. I know the couples, would deal with a lot too, but I can tell you the children deal with. And sometimes you see what they go through expressed through their characters. You know, Sometimes they become unusually cold. Like I can tell you, the woman who was telling me about the daughter who became a 10-year-old became so quiet, stopped talking. And she was like, "What's going on? You're not talking. Like you never used to be this quiet." And she was like, "I'm fine, mom, I'm fine." And sometimes they express it by wanting to have the light on at night. They are afraid. I'm telling you, there's so many things. Sometimes they're asking you, "Mom, are you okay?" It's not saying like I'm not okay, but they are like, "Mom, are you okay? You understand? Dad, are you okay?" and all. So there is a lot. And Mr. Fernando, um, I'm going to ask you. We all know the answers, but when does a divorce, right? Who do you think is more impacted? Who is more impacted by those things?
Honestly, I can't say, and the reason why is because I can't say how it impacts a woman because I've never been a woman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to answer that would be selfish. I will say this though, based on my experience with my parents splitting up when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
it part of me understands why they split up because they were like oil and water.
Mm.
But the ramifications of their split up hurt me the most, I believe. It hurts the children the most in that particular situation that I was because of everything that I had to go through with in in the result of their split up.
So
That's why it's important to have that foundation, that spiritual connection with God for both parties, for the mother and the father. If the foundation is right, then that helps battle all the personal battles that each of the parties to handle. You know what I mean? So
hmm
we all have our battles, and if they're on the same page, if the mother and father are on the same page, and they both love God and they're both ingratiated in the Word, it helps. It doesn't make it easy, but it helps. You know what I mean? Because trying to fight these spiritual attacks by yourself, trying to fight against the everyday things that take place, it's not impossible, but it's a war. It's a war against the spirit. It's a war against the mind. It's a war against the body. It's a war. And in order to go in the war and go into battle and be prepared, you need to have the full armor of God on.
yeah. Um, well, I'm going to ask you to be an advocate for a minute, right? As a child who, grew up from a separated or broken home or something, substance and the things you were exposed to. Now, we have a society where people are quick to say, I'm done, right? Not kind of looking at the after effects. Like I told us, what the boss leaves behind is more than just walking away, signing the papers or the court and the whole process, child custody. There's a lot more, right? Especially on the children and all. So if we're saying be an advocate, I think I'm just hearing myself. It's echoing. I want to be sure it's not from me. I think I don't know if it's from you or something. I'm talking and I'm hearing. Yeah, okay. I think the noise is better now. So if we're saying be an advocate for a minute, and we have these couples, right? Knowing what children actually go through and having a first-hand experience from that. If the marital issues is fixable, what would you advise both couples to do?
Definitely seek counseling.
Right.
Definitely seek counseling. Marriage counseling is imperative. Even I, even my, even I frowned upon counseling at first when I got married with my wife because I felt like, hey, listen, we got it, we good. All we need to do is just go to the Word, pray, fast, and do what you need to do. But sometimes you need that outside voice in order to run things by because sometimes, and I gotta be frank, sometimes as a husband we be tripping. You know what I mean? But then sometimes as our wives, they have their moments as well. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah,
We're human beings.
we have our moments.
We're
I know.
not perfect creatures. But what only thing we can do is do our due diligence to ensure that we're doing what needs to be done, and what needs to be done is to keep God first in everything.
Yeah. Um.
Because we put ourselves sometimes selfishly, we let our flesh dictate what we do, what we say, and even what we think because we're not doing what we're supposed to do on our end. And I'm talking about me as a father, you know what I mean, as a husband. Like that consistency is important. You got to stay on your word in order to stay motivated to resist the temptations out there in the world of everything from what we eat, what we say, what we think, and what we expose ourselves
Mhm.
to what we expose our kids to. I'm, for instance, and I'll be fully transparent. I have an issue with horror movies. I love
What?
horror movies, like the Freddy Krueger, like Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Jason
Oh,
movies.
okay.
I I'm addicted to the horror films. I have my kids watching. I have my kids watching Nightmare on Elm Street when they were younger, or Child's Play with the Chucky doll, and now they're older and they say things like, "Dad, you remember you had me watching such and such?" Now, in hindsight, I'm like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have had them watching that." But that goes to show that we're not, you know, we take something that we look at as being harmless and
Mm-hmm.
we expose our kids to, and before you know it, it has some type of adverse effects.
Yeah.
Thank God it didn't do that with my kids, but I can imagine with other kids that are not rooted in the word, that don't have
Yeah.
that strong foundation like I didn't growing up, where it can just do something traumatic to them.
Yeah.
So we just got to be careful about what we do, especially even how we handle our partners, how we deal with our significant others, or how we deal with our spouses. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful because kids are always watching. In my
Yeah.
book, I mentioned a few situations that I noticed some things that were going on, but I was so young to the point where my parents were oblivious to it. My parents thought, "Oh yeah, he's so young, he doesn't know what's going on." No, I knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah. I think I read that part where you say you were
Yeah,
so
I
sleepy and
knew
all.
exactly what was going on. But parents assume that, "Oh no, he or she doesn't know. They won't know." No, we know. The kids know. They have an inkling of an idea of what's going on.
Oh yeah.
And you would never know as a parent until they become of age and it comes out, or they become an adult and they tell you about it. So the fact of the matter is, as a parent and as a husband or as a wife, you have to be careful about what you do and what you say.
Yeah. And my kids are so smart. Like seriously, they literally don't watch movies. I have my room. I just lock myself in when I want to watch my movies. And I monitor what they do. I have this parental control. You don't watch nothing. You have to more. I think my background from having a military dad, I am actually, I know movies are good, but I doubt my kids actually really watch movies. I can tell you. I think one of the movie, if there's been a movie, maybe there's some little cartoons. I just try to because they're gonna grow up and watch all those things later. But right now in my home, I call the shot in my house, and they live by the rules. Somebody asking today's topic. Today's topic is what divorce leaves behind, and I have a guest, Mr. Fernando Lennon. He is the writer of the very popular book. It's selling so fast, Perseverance Over Pain, right? And it's a very beautiful book. I already ordered my book. I'm going to put it out there on my page after this session. So you all need to go and order his book. The book is about his own personal, it's not fictional, it's live personal story and what he went through as a child living in a broken home. So you all want to read that book, please go and order the book. And to those who are trying to request me, USM and all, you can request me right now and I'm going to accept you. You can join the conversation. I'm just going to accept one person. So USM, you can request back and all. Sorry, let me put my TikTok in place. Okay. So one question I want to ask is, in your opinion, right, couples should work harder or try to work harder to work through situations in their marriages. Now, what are those situations you think would warrant a necessary separation? And what are those issues in marriage you think we should work out? Because I just, you have a lot of, you don't just walk out of a relationship and a marriage, I'm like, I'm done. So what are those issues you think that being a counselor, being a teacher, being an author, that you think does not necessarily call for a divorce?
Uh,
Like we can work them out. And what are those things you think, man, with this, you all need to separate?
there's three particular situations where they're deal breakers. The
Okay, that's my pen.
first,
I need to write this.
okay.
Oh man, that's my pen. Okay, I'm listening.
The first deal breaker is abuse. Physical abuse. Uh,
Nigerian men, are you guys listening? The African men, physical abuse is a deal breaker.
Physical abuse is a deal breaker. Also, physical abuse of the spouse. Also, physical abuse of children.
Good.
Physical or sexual abuse of children, and infidelity. Like
Mm.
those are the top three deal breakers because at the end of the day, it's like you're putting your spouse's safety at harm, or you're putting your kids' safety at harm. When it comes down to safety issues, that's definitely those are their deal breakers. Those are the top three that I can think of off the top of my head.
So the top three deal breakers that warrant a separation or divorce, you said is
Physical abuse of your spouse, um, physical or sexual abuse of the children, and infidelity.
so when a woman finds out this infidelity, is it both side or
Right.
just one side?
No. All those three things I said that applies to both sides.
So a woman finds out her husband is cheating, is a deal breaker. A man
Well,
finds out the wife
gener-
is cheating, is a
now,
deal breaker.
gener- now, generally, I can't speak for anybody else's relationship,
Thank you, Emmy, for writing it down. Let me pin it. That is beautiful. Um, pin this comment. Yeah.
but those are pretty hard to come back from. Now, not
He's
saying
not speaking for everybody. He's just saying it. So if you
not
decide to
speaking,
stay, that's it.
yeah,
You know,
not
you
speaking
have the
for
grace. God bless you.
not speaking from everybody because people can change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking from experience. People can change. Um, but yeah, those are the top three that hey, listen, something's got to be done. Something's got to be done.
Okay. And what are those things you think? Well, you know what? It doesn't warrant a separation or a divorce. We can work it out.
I think that for those situations like the difference of opinions, which is big nowadays, difference of opinions, um, the lack of desire to improve spiritually
Yeah.
or um, financially, those are issues that are common nowadays. There are ways to handle those things without resulting to the quote that you made earlier. I'm done.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Done.
the I'm done quote is definitely popular nowadays because people feel like they have so many options.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. People feel like they have options. And now with the days of social media being so prevalent, people will scroll and say, "Hey, I got options. I can go with this and that and the other," not really realizing that these options are not valuable. As a matter of fact, these options are not really options. You think they're options because Satan got into your mind and he's telling you or showing you, "Hey, listen, you can have this if you give up this."
Mm-hmm.
He did the same thing to Jesus Christ. And I don't want to preach, but he did the same thing to Jesus Christ when he tried to tempt him. Said, you can have all of this. All you have to do is do this.
Worship me. Mm-hmm.
And people don't relate scripture to real world events, but there's nothing new under the sun. The same things that occurred back in the biblical times, are occurring right now before our eyes. The same things. It's just a different name, or it's just a different character, but it's still ongoing.
Yeah. Thank you. You're right. And I was going to ask, I have a few men who are wanting to leave their marriage, and I'm sure some of them might be here because the wife is not financially doing okay. Sometimes these women don't want to work, and sometimes I also have women who literally work out on their marriage because the men don't want to work. Do you think that is the grounds for separation or divorce? Or it's part of the things that should be in the let's work it out?
I'm gonna put it like this. All right. I don't want to be cold, but I got to keep it real. And I'm not speaking to anybody in particular because I don't know who you're referring to, so I'm going to be general with it.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that person didn't want to work when you got with them. You knew that person didn't have any desire or fire behind them before you got with them. You knew that person didn't want to help contribute to the household before you made a decision to get with them. So when you make your decision, you got to ride with it. Don't try to back out because this person didn't change into who you wanted them to change into. And that's part of the problem as well. Oftentimes, people get with others because they want to mold that person into who they want them to be.
Mm.
Instead of instead of loving that person for who they are and helping them help in growing together, one person wants to grow, and then now when they get to a certain status, they automatically assume the other person needs to catch up to where they are.
Mm.
It doesn't work that way. Because now what you're doing is you're playing God. You're trying to control everything. You're trying to tell this person how they should be and why they should be instead of seeking the Father's advice, instead of waiting and, being still so you can hear how you need to move accordingly.
You are so right. And my previous videos, I have said something so similar. And I won't even go forward. I'm just going to say you're 100% right with what you just said. You're trying to just have that person catch up because you knew before you got married to them. So it's part of the things, like you said, you have to ride with. Um, it's so beautiful that you're a teacher today. And from what you said, okay, I'm just going to ask, how did your parents' separation affect? How did it impact on your education as a child? And what did you do and how did you come out of it? How today you were a teacher, today you're an author. And this is somebody you said at some point you couldn't even read in school.
Right.
So how did the magic happen?
So it wasn't magic. When my parents were together, their focus was on their own personal things that they had going on.
Mm.
So I'd always struggled, and even when we went to the street, I was struggling academically. When my uncle, my father's brother, got me off of the street, and gave me that foundation that I needed, that stable household. I the tricks that I used to use in order to make it from grade level to grade level, they weren't working anymore. So what I had to do was I had to be real with myself and start like studying. Like I had to start trying to find ways on teaching myself how to read. So I would go to the library, I would grab like the little cat in the hat books and the little basic books, baby books, and I would teach myself how to read foundationally. So I went from not knowing how to read well and not knowing I knew basic math skills from dealing with money and things of that nature, but anything beyond that, I had no clue about it. So I went from having all these deficiencies academically all the way up into eighth grade to studying and just grinding and starting from the basics. And by the time I got into my 10th grade year in high school, I was in all honors classes. I
Wow.
was I was in dual
Wow.
I was in dual enrollment. I started dual enrollment is when you're in certain courses and you can take college level courses while you're still in high school.
Yeah.
So it was a transformation of a 2 year period, a 1 to 2 year period, where I went from being basically illiterate and to advanced honors classes. And
Wow.
and when I tell people that, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like what? I'm like, yeah, you can do anything with God on your side.
Yeah.
As long as you have faith, He will guide you to what you need to do. And there's a lot of teachers nowadays that are out there that they give up on kids when they reach a certain level and they can't read or they have deficiencies. And I'm here to tell them, listen, don't give up on that kid because I was that kid.
Mm.
And now I'm and when I became a teacher, I was an English teacher.
Wow.
I was teaching kids how to read, write essays, how speaking properly, listening skills, all of the above. So if I can go from being essentially illiterate to a language arts teacher, anybody and everybody can do it as long as you have that fighting spirit to get better. As long as you don't give up. And I
Yeah.
and I have all of that in my book. There's so many different lessons in the book that people can pick up on, and certain parts won't be for everybody, but certain parts are for someone.
Okay. I'm just gonna type perseverance over pain. I think perseverance over pain. I want to let me type it so that perseverance over pain. I need us to please order for his book. I'm gonna pin it here. It's on Amazon. I already bought mine. So you want to get it. Perseverance over pain. You want to get that book. You don't want to miss it. USM, God bless you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, ma.
How are you doing? You're looking the other way. God bless you, baby.
Oh, I'm studying.
What have you learned so far from this topic today? We have a gentleman who is teaching us. So tell me what you've learned so far.
Good morning, sir. Sir. Good
Hello.
afternoon. Yes, excuse me.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Okay, so what I've learned so far, indeed, divorce actually affects mostly the children. That's just the truth. Yeah, affects kids. I will not. Yeah, the adults, yes, but like what he said the
Your
last
voice
he
is a
said
little bit, I
something.
think it's because of the earpiece you're using.
Okay, let me take on my let me take on my let me just
Yeah, your voice is a little like, is it echoing or a little far, far, far?
Okay, can you hear me very well now?
You're better now.
Okay. So I was saying that he said something lastly, and I was trying to recall. I remembered for I think okay. He says something that people get together knowing very well the type of person. If the person is lazy, if the person is a deadbeat, we get into relationships. Mostly women, I'm gonna say, and women are guilty of this due to age, peer pressure. You get into an entanglement with someone that you know that you have zero business dealing with. You know yourself very well. Now, and this is what I'm gonna say this is what I'm gonna say. As a lady, if you know that you're an ambitious person and you know that you're someone that you vote for the best, this is the type of future that you want. Yes, I understand that most
There's a
of the
noise.
time
There's a noise coming out. I don't know if it's from your thing.
that's not
Are
from
you
me.
okay? It's not from you. Okay. Is somebody using Mr. Fana? Are you using another device to watch or something? Okay. Okay. I'm listening there.
So if you know that you will go better and you know the type of family that you want, as a woman, do not settle. Yes, most of the time we end up meeting riffraff and all that. But we need to always, like I told someone, we always need to understand that the end goal is to have a beautiful home, not just for us, but the kids.
Yeah.
Because these are the children that end up suffering. I have personal experience as well. These are the kids that always end up suffering. I didn't have a father. And when my mom told me everything that transpired from her conceiving me up until my father dying before I turned 1 year, I know the impact. It was negative. It was negative impact. This impact impacted me up until last year. I went for therapy. So we need to understand whether it's a baby daddy, whether it's a husband, whether it's a short time thing that turned out to bring forth children or a child. Because some people they have twins the first time they get pregnant. We need to always put kids. Yes, they might not be there initially, but we need to always project them in our future. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that suffers it, and then that's how we create generational traumas. At the end of the day, generational, then you realize that, okay, this person is going through and now some people don't even know that they're going through trauma. Some people feel like they have every reason to be angry. Now they end up training their own children in that manner or in that way. Then these children will get married to someone that probably grow in a family of love, and they destroy this person, and then the pattern just continues. So as individuals, especially women, men, because I'll say this, men know what they want. Men are selfish. I'm sorry. Men are selfish. They know what they want. They know what they're looking for. Whether it's going to benefit them, I must trust me, men will always look for what benefits them. But we women, we need to learn to be selfish. We need to learn to in a good way. Selfishness can be in a good way. It can be in a good way. We don't have to always be desperate. We don't always have to settle for less. We are not God in anybody's life. If you see that someone is not doing what they're supposed to do, drop them. Let someone else pick them. And the truth is, a man will change for who he wants to change for. So if he's not changing for you, why waste your
I
time?
don't like the noise.
But I will say this also to piggyback off what you just said. I think another part of the problem is women need to stop looking for husbands and let their husbands find them.
Mm.
Oftentimes, a lot there's some women that are out there and they'll say it on social media. I'm looking for my husband. I'm looking for my Boaz. That's not scripture.
Mm.
Because when you go looking and you're not supposed to be the one looking, you're gonna find what you're looking for. And what you're looking for is not really what God has for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of women recently always post, "I'm waiting for my husband to find me." Uh, my husband, if you can listen, if you can hear me, I'm going to make you breakfast at morning. I look, if you're one of my daughters, yeah, you have to, Jesus Christ. And you are doing that, you're disgracing me. I don't want to mention your name. I have seen some of you post that. You've seen, I've never said anything. Even when you send me messages, I don't respond because you are already not living by the principles I teach you. It is not feminine to go online and to say you're looking for a man. I'm telling you, you're just inviting predators. They already know you are at that point where anything goes. I'm telling you the truth. Please put on your guards as a lady. I beg you. Yes, and thank you so much for that contribution. And
Yes, ma'am.
to my guest, thank you so much. Do you have a question you want to ask him?
Okay, so I have a question. I was supposed to write it down, but because I'm studying, so sorry. Okay, so my question here is that,
I know now that my baby girl is in school. We're not going to hear word again. Anyway, I'm proud of you. now you're in school. We aren't hearing nothing. She's studying. We also went through the school. I'm proud of you.
thank you,
Ask your
ma'am.
question.
Okay, so now my question is that because you said something in regards to your mom, and I think Mama also asked a question that did you at any point in time like resented your mom? Because for me personally, I resented my mother. I don't care what she had been through. Because my own was that I didn't ask to be here. In fact, I actually told my mom you could have used protection or you could have done it the best way by terminating.
Yeah.
But and I think for me, going through therapy made me realize that, you know what, I can't control what happens to me. Because, just like in the Bible, I don't know what I believe it's Joshua that said that he knew you before you were formed.
Right.
So that means that what we are meant to go through has already been predestined. We are just going through that channel. So how were you able to, I don't know whether you went for therapy, but how were you able to overcome that phase? Because I also have a sister, right? I will use the word hate. I hated this girl because of her mother. Not because she did anything personally to me,
Mm.
because of my mother, because now my mom trained her, but I wasn't trained by her. I wasn't loved by her. I didn't have the love of a mother.
Mm.
All thanks to my mother. And because of, and when she told me the story that she had to go through with my father, I understood. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you could have done me a good by terminating the abortion because I went through so much. And at the end of the day, I didn't end up being a mother to my own son because I do not know how to be a mother. So, like, my question is, did you have to go for therapy? And how easy was it for you to just move past it and just formed a natural and a godly bond with them?
All right. So, when I first got off of the street and I moved in with my uncle, about a year later or so, I did get a chance to go visit my mother and my sister for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of resentment in my heart for my mother and my sister. Um, when I found out that they weren't experiencing what my father and I experienced, there was resentment there. So, I didn't know how to interact with them at all. Like we argued. The trip was terrible. We argued for the most part when I was there. When I got back home, I told myself, "Nah, I'm not going back up there." But then talked to my father because my father was going through the process of going through a detox at the time and getting clean off of the drugs. He told me, he was like, "Listen, it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. I'm getting better, so we'll be a family again," type of deal. Um, I never, throughout my childhood, even when I got off the street, I never went to therapy. Nobody ever recommended therapy because in our family, in our culture, at the time, it wasn't a common theme to go talk to anybody about your problems. It was not a common theme that you seek um, medical attention for anything that's going on mentally. It was more so what happens in this house stays in this house, and what went on is the past. The past. We're gonna move past it. So, in order to cope with all the things that I went through, I I invested all my time into sports. I invested all my time into trying to create a social life. I I spent a lot of time trying to play catch up from the things that I couldn't do when I was a kid. Um, it wasn't until I graduated from high school where my sister and I started to regain a bond.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, her and my mother ended up moving back to Florida after I graduated from high school. Um, and still, it was still awkward, between my mother and I. Even though my sister and I we were working through everything, my mother and I's relationship was very awkward because in the back of my mind, I still felt that she left. You know what I mean? And maybe the situation was also awkward because she didn't know how I felt about everything.
Mm-hmm.
She never knew what I experienced when I was on the streets.
Mm.
She never knew. And then and then eventually years later after that, I tried to talk to her about it and she didn't want to talk about it because I can tell it was a sore spot for her, and
Mm.
she was probably avoiding hearing what I went through because of how it possibly could have made her feel.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't want to hear that. You know what I mean? At the time,
Yeah.
I wanted to vent. You know what I mean? And I was never allowed to vent. I was never allowed to share my piece. I was never able to receive an apology from anyone based off of what I went through. And I felt at the time, I felt the entire world owed me an apology. That's how I felt. I never carried it like that. I never acted out or lashed out against anyone because of it. I just kept it internalized. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I became an adult, yes, I went to therapy. I saw a therapist. I got evaluated. I went through the whole process. Um, but my coping strategy, my healing came with my relationship with God, the true relationship that I established with Him. See, when I first got out off the street, when I was going to church with my uncle, I forged a how can I say it? I forged a make believe relationship with God for the surface. It was a surface level relationship. It was for people to see that, oh yeah, I'm saved, in my life to the Lord. This is what I'm doing. But I would never verbally say anything like that to people. I would just do little things like join the church,
Mm-hmm.
become a part of the choir. But the only reason why I became part of the choir is because there was a young lady in the choir that I liked. You know what I mean? To be 100% transparent. So, you know, that was my deal because at the time I didn't make a connection between surviving the streets and God having his hand on me. I had never made that connection until I got older. Until I got into actually until I got into college. And
Wow.
even when I got into college, I was something else in college. My first year in college, I was off the chain. And I'm thinking I'm lowballing it by saying off the chain. I was more than that. You know what I mean? I had totally took on a whole nother identity. I was doing all kind of things, and then I had um, three deaths that took place within the course of a year.
Mm.
And when those three deaths occurred, by the third one, I could hear a voice say, I didn't bring you through everything that I brought you through to get you to this point right now for you to fail. I need your undivided attention.
Mm. Wow.
So, um, does all of that answer your question?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, sir.
No
So
problem.
the main thing you are saying is God, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy could help, but God is the main factor that helps you truly forgive and let go. You know, and I know sometimes these parents they thought about themselves alone and they were selfish. You understand? But we have to forgive them. Now, Mr. Lennon, from your book, right? Um, there's a place USM. I think when somebody is talking, we should all mute. I think that's when it will. Yes, yeah. I think the noise will stop. So, and when you want to talk, you're on mute. I think so. Um, from reading your book, there's a chapter titled "Suicide Mission," right? And you described the scene when you were 12 and you considered taking your own life. Do you think is that something you want to talk about today, or you want us to go read about it, or you just want to give us a little highlight?
I'll give you a highlight.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, the section that says suicide mission in my book, it was a lot. I had reached a breaking point. After being on a year on the street from the age of 9 to 12, at a certain point, I was like, man, listen, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of not having that love there, not having that security, not having that foundation. I'm tired of surviving. So I went to a rooftop of one of the spots where we used to sleep. It was raining, and I was going to jump. I was going to end it all. I was definitely going to end it all. Um, the only thing that kept me from jumping was the fact that I said to myself, well, if I jump and I live, I could potentially be paralyzed. So not only will I be homeless, but I'll be paralyzed too. Oh no, no, not at all. So I snapped out of it, and I just continued to survive.
Wow. Thank God you didn't make that decision. And
Yeah,
thank God we have you today. Like Jesus, thank God for sparing your life. Anyways, we want to read that. I have a question. Someone has a question. Ami says, she has a question. She said, "What advice would you give a lady who is going through a custody battle with an abusive ex? Who is spiteful to have the children from his home state, even though she raised them?" I'll just leave the other one. But she said, "What advice would you give a lady who is going through a custody battle with an abusive ex?" This question. There are a lot of people asking these questions, not just you. So, what advice would you give? From just your knowledge, because she asks if you would like to answer that.
I, I'm not the most qualified for this, but
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. If if they're abusive to the kids, well, that's a different dynamic as well. If they were abusive to you, that's one thing, because from what I've seen with my own two eyes with my parents, they were abusive to each other physically, but they weren't abusive to us as their kids. They didn't abuse us physically. So with that being said, um, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I think with that you can make some consultations, and sometimes I think according to the law, an abuse to your spouse is also an abuse to the children. If they get to see all those, it affects them mentally as well.
Mhm.
And I'll also say this: custody battles. Okay. I I wanted to say this, but I think it would be who is more competent to keep them, right? Mr. Lennon, right? Fernando, who is more competent to keep the kids, right? In terms of custody. And please, to the ladies, I beg you, and also to the men, most times it's the ladies that have these kids. We know you have custody. Your kids also need their dad in their lives, right? It is not abusive to the children if he's safe being around the children, and he wants to be in their lives and he loves them. Allow him the opportunity to be in the lives of his children. I know sometimes we're hurt by what they did to us, right? And we want to react or kind of punish them by thinking keeping the kids away from them is kind of a form of retaliation, but it's not helping the children. Now, please, if there's okay, I want to say this. Right? I'm trying to just put the right words.
Can I
Fine.
can I can I add something to what you just
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
The best punishment is happiness and success, not pain and torment of utilizing the kids as a pawn in whatever's going on between the parents.
Yeah.
Go, if you result in a divorce and you have to split due to any of those reasons that we talked about before, I think happiness is the best thing that you can go out and get. If you know what I mean, like your peace is everything. Your kids' peace is everything.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would say seek the guidance of the Lord versus another human being, because oftentimes other human beings are flawed as well. And based on their experiences, they'll tell you or they'll give you advice based off of what they've been through.
Hmm.
So you definitely have to be tapped in spiritually in order to find out what avenues you need to travel to handle certain situations. Now, the legal things. Now, legally, you have to seek legal consultation,
Yeah.
because
Definitely. Yeah.
anybody else, they'll tell you, nine times out of 10 they'll give you an opinion, and everybody has an opinion, but nobody has actually walked a day in your shoes. So
Hmm. You know what? Yeah, and that's true. Um, we're about to really like round up in a few minutes. I know in your book you said something about seeing your dad use alcohol, drugs, and what was even baffling was you even saying sometimes you have to go buy this alcohol for your dad, right? Now, I'm thanking God for the way you turned out. It's just the grace of God. But I can tell you that other kids who experienced same thing ended up using a lot of alcohol and today are using same drugs, right? What advice would you give parents? Um, Parents who abuse these substances and everything, what advice would you give them and how to keep the kids at arm's length or safe from what they do?
I would say this, for those that are afflicted with a stronghold of drug use or alcohol use, seek help. Seek help. Definitely seek help, because at the end of the day, that contributes to trauma for the
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's hard to tell a kid not to do something, and then their hero is doing it. Nine
Yes.
times out of 10, they're gonna do it too.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. I definitely was an exception. I saw my dad personally doing all those, those illegal drugs, and I told myself that I would never do it.
Thank you.
I made it a mission to never do it. I made it a mission to never even put myself in that circumstance or that situation, because of what transpired, or what was transpiring, why he was addicted to the drugs.
Hmm. And I'm so happy you made that decisions. And I can tell you it's impacted a lot of his jobs and everything, you know. However, I'm sure those actually really impacted on those areas of his life. From what you've been through as a husband, as a father, what are you doing differently today to make sure you keep your home safe emotionally? Because I'd need the men to please listen to this advice. We don't want divorces, we don't want separated homes. So, from what you've been through, your upbringing, and what are you doing differently today to keep your home safe and intact?
I'm I'm uh, I'm putting others before myself. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Because as a husband, you you have the weight of the world on your shoulders already, because of all the responsibilities that you have. Um, but at the end of the day, that family that you've been entrusted with having by God is your responsibility as well. Family takes precedence over everything else.
Yeah.
Not God, but not God come first. Then your family comes right afterwards, because at the end of the day, they didn't ask to be your family.
Yeah. And
Especially
I'm
those
going.
kids. Those kids, you conceive those kids. Those kids are your responsibility. Your spouse is your responsibility.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask a question and also throw it to USN because I need a man to answer and a woman to also answer. Now we're seeing an increasing rate of divorce worldwide. People are easily walking out on their marriages today. So it's not just in the US, it's happening in Europe, it's happening in Nigeria. So with this increased rate of divorce worldwide, what do you think is contributing to this trend?
Uh, people feeling like they have options. That
Hmm.
they have a plethora of options. They think the grass is always greener on the opposite side, and a lot of it deals with social media addiction. all
Oh,
all the scrolling, so they get a chance to see this and see that and see this and see that, and it's a lot more temptation than it was back in the day. Back in the day, only time you can get tempted is in person, because there's
mm,
no internet. Now you have the internet, you have in person, you have everywhere you go, you have temptation everywhere. There's temptation in church. There's temptation at work. There's temptation when you go to the store. There's temptation all around you. So you have to have that full armor of God on, and you have to have your mind right out here, because if not, the devil will trick you off of these streets so quick.
yeah. So you think the internet, the social media is
I
also
think
influencing this trend, right?
that's a huge part. It's a huge part. It's a huge.
Yeah. USM, what do you think is causing this increased rate? What's causing this trend?
Well, to my own personal observation, I would say that two intentional people can come together and something can happen along the way. Most of the time, maybe friends, maybe um I heard of this thing on TikTok. The lady wrote she was talking about her husband and how her husband said that he and her brother wants to go on a gay trip. Mind you, they the guy, according to the ladies saying the story, her husband is not gay. All of a sudden, he is saying that he wants to go for one. Like after 10 years of marriage, he wants to go for one. And he's trying to convince his wife why going for a gay trip does not mean that he's gay. Wow. So now, this is something that you don't even prepare for, right? You don't even prepare for stuff like this. Now we have people, men and women, maybe their work ethics change. And then they meet different people, and now they feel like, oh, you know what? I can get a better person. I don't need this person anymore.
Yeah, that's what he said. Options, like,
yes,
have varieties now.
Another one, again, I'm going to go back to friends. And this happened to a close family member of mine. Our husband has this friend that normally, what would I call it? That normally like is promiscuous, right? And imagine calling your friend and then, okay, this is a family member, so she's my aunt. She was in our room, and I think back in the days, they have like this phone that you can have one in your living room and one in the room. And when you pick up one, you can hear what is going on if you pick it up at the living room. So she heard that guy's conversation, and he was telling him that, oh, I already arranged a baby for you. This is a married man. And my own personal question is, I don't understand what is with men. We're trying to make their male friend feel like they are man enough in destroying their own home.
Yes.
That is always something I will never understand. Like, you have your own home. This is your life. This is your home. This is your territory. And you're worried about someone that you're not even in their upbringing. You have no idea what, you don't even sleep and wake up with these people. You don't even know the plans that they have for you. They are not God. So definitely their plan will never be for good. Maybe not, maybe some evils, whichever one. But at the same time, I've always asked myself, why would a grown man want to have to prove to their friends that, hey, she can't talk to me anyhow. Hey, this. Hey, I'm in control. Nah. And that is one problem. He's a man, and I don't know, maybe he can educate me, because I've always had that question for like 17 years since I've been in America. Like, why grown men feel like they have to make their friends
sleep with women,
understand that they are in control.
Yeah, they're in control.
Why?
Have multiple women. I'm going to arrange you a woman.
Why?
And when you don't do it, they think you're weak. Like, when you're not like that, they think you're...
And this creates broken. So that's what I'm saying, ma'am, that at the end of the day, these are things that some people are not hoping. Some people have two good intentions coming together, but these are things that, just imagine the guy that said, he wants to go, and he's convincing his wife why going for a gay party or gay vacation with different men that they're going to sleep with each other does not mean that he's gay. He did not sign up. She did not even sign up for that.
Oh, no, we can't hear you. Oh, yes.
All right, so I'm gonna say this. That's not something that just came out of nowhere. I don't know this person, but based off of common sense, this person's always been like that. It was just undercover. It was just undercover. Now he's feeling comfortable enough to come out and say, "Hey, this is what I want to do." But it was always there. And what sometimes what people do is they intentionally hide who they really are and have a family as a cover. But that works both ways too. That works both ways. Sometimes it's the wife that has a secret lifestyle that they have, or that they're covering for with their family.
It was always there, girl. And what you said about, I think, I don't want to say African men because I think they think the control is what makes you a man. The control is not what makes you a man. See, naturally, when you do what God says you should do, love your wife, she's going to submit under your control naturally. You will see yourself ruling. You don't have to say, you don't have to act it. I'm serious. Just do what God says you should do. And, from what you said, I remember one time my husband then, he was in a conversation with a friend who wasn't married. I call him Uncle Dan. So this other guy is this version of the version of a guy most people would say, oh, he's good. He usually would not. He's kind of a little shy. Would not approach a woman easily. He's kind of very. Uncle Dan is very reserved. And then my husband then then was, he's So one day I walked into him, um, you know, making a call or talking to Uncle Dan. And he was like, Dan, you're not married yet. You can't talk to women. You should be talking to women. Look at you. Me, I'm James Bond. I think talk to 5 women. Okay, I know you don't understand. He said it in my local dialect, like vernacular. He was like, Daniel, you are a guy and you can't even talk to women. Look at me. I'm James Bond. I can talk to 10 women straight. Since that day, I started calling him James Bond. I said, James Bond, you try. James Bond, you try. James Bond. So you see, many think, I don't know this thing about, like, they think that is what makes you the man and that's what makes you hard and strong. It's not. These days is very irritating. And an author here said, it's one of the reasons why people are walking out of their marriages. And I'm going to tell you, I know we didn't want to sugarcoat a lot of things. One of the reasons why marriages are breaking in the US, irrespective of the children being involved, is infidelity. You know, we are all working, and then there's so many diseases out there. Most women don't want to be in such a messy environment, and men too. You understand? So this trend, why we have this high rate of divorce and all, with what he said, social media, women are having options, men have options. We see people inboxing women, you're married or not, and say, hey, you're beautiful. You never used to see that, you know, but now you have those options and everything, but it's not a yardstick to walk out. No, it is not. It is not. As a matter of fact, if you can fight for that marriage, please do it with everything you have got, okay? Um, I'm gonna just ask this final question as we close, Mr. Fernando, for everyone listening, right? And everyone who is hurting, whether from a divorce or those who grew up from, a broken home. What would you want them to know today? What advice do you have generally for them? Those who are hurting, children from a broken home. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, so my word of advice is not to give up and keep fighting. Because
Mm,
just because you've been through a situation or you've been through trauma or certain circumstances, those circumstances and that trauma does not define you.
mm.
What defines you is what you do after the trauma. How do you cope with it? Do you have a relationship with God? And if not, it's never too late to get one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this discussion. I am so happy. For those of us who are joining now, the topic is what divorce leaves behind. The full video is going to be available on my YouTube channel after now. And I'm also going to post this book. Please, I want to know who is going to be buying this book. I want to know in the comment section if you're going to be buying the book, Perseverance Over Pain. I want you to read it. USM, I'm not asking you, you're buying the book. As a matter of fact, I want to see you show me your receipt or screenshots that you've bought. Um, Emmy, I know the ones that are my people. Emmy, you're buying the book. I want to see you show me a screenshots that you bought the book. And in short, all of you, if you see my message, just make sure you buy the book. I want to make sure you show me a screenshot that you bought, because to all of you who will be buying the books, I'm going to be sending him those who bought the book from this page. Yes, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon, and the book is Perseverance Over Pain. I don't just want you to buy the book because you want to patronize him. Seriously, this book is you can relate. It's not fictional. It's not a story of somebody who fell in love or something. This is him telling you his childhood, from when his mother conceived him, how he was born prematurely. I told you I was glued to the book. How he was in the incubator or something for weeks. Please, this is a personal story and you're going to learn so much. I'm telling you, if you're thinking of getting married, or you are married, you're contemplating divorce or walking out on that marriage, you need to read this book. You need to get the insight from this book. I can tell you, this book might just be the healing you're looking for. Might just be the revelation. It might just be God speaking to you. Those of you who are coming to say, Mommy, as a matter of fact, I know those I'm going to send this to. Yes. Those that are coming for counseling. Mama, this is what I'm going through. Before I speak to you, read this book first. Then we can come and discuss about what you're going through. I am going to be reading it. I already started reading it from Amazon, the free sample, the full, the one I ordered is going to come in tomorrow. So be sure I'm going to take a picture when it arrives and I'm going to put it on my page. That's to tell you how much I want you to get your own copy of this book. It's on Amazon. Please do well to get the book. And thank you so much, Mr. Lennon Fernando. Thank you for sharing this personal, this time with us, and for telling us everything you went through. A little bit, not even all. I'm sure you told us less than 10%. We need to read the book to find out the rest and to get the insight. And thank you all too. I just want to pray for those that are hurting. God will heal your heart in the mighty name of Jesus. Those that are eating breakfast. When I say breakfast, when we say breakfast in Africa, we mean heartbroken. You understand? Somebody left you, or that's what we mean by breakfast. You're not alone. We've all been through this before. So I want to tell you, God is gonna heal you in the mighty name of Jesus. Just stay strong. Stay strong. Those who are fighting costly battles. See, divorce doesn't really end in that regard. Sometimes when you're married to a very wicked person, your battle starts after when the marriage ends. I am telling you, you think you fought battles in your marriage. I'm telling you, you didn't fight no battles. The main battles starts when you leave that narcissist, or when you leave that person who tormented you. That's when you fight more battles. I have seen papers of men and women who states that you cannot leave the city just because you have the children. Yes, I have seen court papers where your ex-spouses try to control your life even after the divorce. So when you think your healing is about to start, that's just when your battle is about to continue. If you're in that situation, if you're in that position, I'm praying that God will heal you, that God will give you a way out and deliver you from such exes in the mighty name of Jesus. And for those who want to get married, I'm praying that God is going to give you a spouse, a good husband and a good wife. Yes, that's me. I mean, I can tell you, you're not alone. There are a lot of women, a lot of people like that. You're not alone, girl. You're not. Those who are expecting God to bless them with a spouse, this year will not pass you by in the mighty name of Jesus. God, I'm prophesying into your life. God is giving you that man and that woman who will come and complete your life, not reduce it, not subtract from it, but complete it and add value to it in the mighty name of Jesus. God bless you and keep you safe in Jesus' name. Thank you so much, Mr. Fernando. I'm going to call you after this call. And hopefully, I am so hoping to have you back with us some other time. You are such a blessing. Thank you so much.
I
God
thank
bless
you.
you. Bye bye, everyone.